Okay, let's raise the big questions at this moment. Consensus on the Waqf bill. Is it now achievable? Remember, voting will take place a short while from now. The government has the clear majority. Is this importantly a genuine reform, or is it actually just a political weapon? Is the Waqf bill a weapon of mass distraction? Is it an attempt to distract from some of the real issues of our times? For example, the Trump tariffs that come into force in a few hours from now. Are we seeing vote bank politics being played by every side over the Waqf bill? One side trying to appease Muslim votes, the other side trying to whip a sense of Hindu consolidation. Those are some of the questions I want to pose. Time for our political face-off today. I don't usually get spokespersons and politicians on the show, but today is a major debate in Parliament. Syed Nasir Hussain is Member of Parliament and Senior National Spokesperson of the Congress. Nalin Kohli, National Spokesperson BJP, Advocate Supreme Court. Juhi Singh is Spokesperson Samajwadi Party. Deepak Reddy Gunapati is National Spokesperson of the TDP. Let's come to each of you first. I want to come to you, Nalin Kohli, first, because the BJP is facing the charge from the opposition right through this day that all your bill is seeking to do is interfere in the religious affairs of Muslims and therefore acts against the constitution of the country. You won't intervene when it comes to Hindu religious affairs now, but you will certainly intervene when it comes to the minority community. Your response? Mr. Kohli. Nalin Kohli, can you hear me? Nalin Kohli, can you hear me? Okay, Mr. Kohli, can you hear me?
I can now hear you. I'm sorry. So if you've asked something, I have no clue because I've just been patched in.
Okay, I'm just asking you the question. Mr. Kohli, right through this day on the debate, the big question that the opposition has been raising is that the Waqf bill is essentially an intervention in the religious affairs of a community and therefore ultra-virus Article 26 of the Constitution, freedom to practice your religion the way you wish. Your response?
So thank you. In fact, I'm grateful that you've asked me that question, Rajdeep, because I was following what my colleague in the Supreme Court, Shadan, was also speaking, and he also raised the argument, two arguments, which I'll address them. It applies to everything. Article 26, and then, of course, about the government's interference in terms of the collector looking at land. And this requires some explanation. First is Article 26, certainly 25, 26, 29, are special rights given to the minority communities under the Constitution. But these cannot be in effect to the derogation of the rights of those who are not minorities. Because after all, you have Article 14 of the Constitution, which is equality before law. So you cannot have a situation where in the name of or on the tenet of minority rights and minority protection, the rights of any other minority, being Christians or Buddhists or any Sikhs, or the majority community, being Hindus, can be affected. And to bring it into perspective, currently under the 2013 Act, any land can be claimed as a Waqf land, including temple lands, which is happening in Tamil Nadu, including farmers' lands in the Congress-ruled Karnataka, including lands of Christian families, 400 of them, 200 Hindu families, in Kerala. And that's also brought the bishops out, the Christian community. Now, the Waqf land, as Shadab correctly said, is a pious land meant for the purpose of Allah. So, therefore, that contribution also has to be from a practicing Muslim, not anyone, which was what the 2013 amendment is, which leads to the third question: why should the collector be looking at it? So, let's pause for a minute. Prior to the British rule in India, land belonged to the community or the temples. I mean, I'm talking historically for thousands of years. The British came and organized land rights. That whole thing was in a system of administration eventually, in which the district administration or the district magistrate is also a collector in the capacity of collecting revenue from land. He's also the custodian of all land records in the district. So ultimately, it's the collector who has the complete chain and information from the Patwari right up to the Kanungo, to the Tehsildar, and finally the district magistrate. which is where also when anyone like you or me buys land, we register it there, it gets recorded in the record of rights, and thereafter, if it's mutation, if there is a challenge, it is a quasi-judicial process at the DM's office. So he's the right person to know about lands. Now someone says, this is my Waqf land, say a temple in Tamil Nadu. You will have a record of the land. So either you have to come with a record, it can't be a declaration which will take away the rights of other communities. That's the, core part to it. It's not about the takeover of anything at all.
You're saying it leads to greater regulation. You're saying that you're claiming that this will lead to greater, more efficient regulation. I had Professor Faizan Mustafa who said Waqf property is already highly regulated. So in many of the instances that you've cited, even if I claim it to be a Waqf land, there is a strong element of regulation even now. The question though, Nasir Hussain, is as you're seeing the BJP is claiming that you needed reform. The Waqf board is not above reform, Nasir Hussain. Your response, that the general belief is that this is at one level an important reform. Go ahead, Nasir Hussain.
Phone badal do.
Mr. Hussain.
Even I believe that no institution in this country is above reforms. Every institution need reforms, every board need reforms. I don't have a problem in it. But the problem is the BJP since morning in their interventions in Lok Sabha has not been able to tell the people of the country or convince the people of the country or convince the especially the Muslims or convince the members that were there in JPC or in Lok Sabha as to what are the reforms that they have brought. What are the reforms that they have brought? And they say that conveniently quoting constitution is not enough. Who says that Waqf board is infringing upon the rights of other minorities or other communities in our country? What is it that Waqf board that has done to snatch away the rights of other minorities or the majority community? In fact, I am saying that there should be equality before law. When you are putting 2 non-Muslims or 4 non-Muslims in Waqf board, can you put a Muslim, a Sikh or a Christian in the endowment board? Can you put them in temple trust? Can you put them, accommodate them in the religious Hindu endowment and religious act of different states in this country? Can you do that? So I want equality before law. If you can't do that, you cannot do it here also. That's as simple as that. Now you say that collector is the one who knows everything about land. I agree on that. Can the collector have the authority to divide the title of any land? Such committee, they are quoting such a committee since morning. They have rejected such a committee when it was actually tabled in the parliament. In toto they have rejected. Now they are conveniently quoting such a committee. I want to quote from such a committee. Such a committee said that majority of the dispute of the lands of Waqf board is with the government. Who is the district collector representing? He is representing the government. How can one be a judge in his own case? Waqf board versus government, the district collector represents the government. So how can he decide on the case? Even the High Court has said that collector cannot decide on the land. He can only register the land. Only the title of the land can be decided by the court. This is point number 2. Point number 3, Mr. Kohli, I have been debating with him for a long time, but of late we have not come on television channel for past few occasions. I want to tell him the specific cases. He spoke about the temple land in Tamil Nadu. Let me put it straight. Today our opposition members have made it very clear in Lok Sabha. This Tamil Nadu issue, 1954, this particular village, 30-40% of the property of that village was in Waqf. 1954 it was in Waqf. Later on the survey numbers changed and Waqf property became separate and there are separate numbers for different properties in that village. So very recently when the revenue records in Tamil Nadu were being digitized, it was the revenue official who made an entry saying that it's a Waqf property. Tamil Nadu Waqf board didn't claim it as a Waqf property. In fact, the tribunal which they are disempowering now, the tribunal in Tamil Nadu said that it is not a Waqf property. Waqf board didn't claim it as a Waqf property. When the JPC went to Chennai, the chief secretary, the district collector, and the revenue secretary came in front of GPC. They said that it was a mistake of the revenue official and not of the Waqf board. Now he spoke about the Kerala issue. I have the complete papers in my hand sitting right away here. Even in Kerala issue, Waqf board didn't claim that it is a Waqf land. Court decisions at 3 different occasions, 2 times the court decision and once a judicial commission declared it as Waqf property. And they sent directions to the Waqf board to register it as a Waqf property when the Waqf board was not registering it as Waqf property. After all this process that has gone in the tribunal now, my sympathies are there with the people who are staying in that area with all those Christian families. Some of them had actually purchased the land. Some of them were staying there for a long time. My sympathies are there. I wish there is some resolution for that. But the problem is the court has said that it's Waqf land, not once, twice, and the judicial commission has said it's a Waqf land. And then later on,
I've heard you very patiently, Mr. Hussain.
That it has to be admitted. And then,
Mr. Hussain, I've heard
one
both.
more point. Karnataka issue, my state.
Yes.
My issue, Karnataka. Again, there the Waqf board had not given notices to the people, those who were staying in those villages. It was the DC of Bijapur who had issued notices because their names were not reflecting in the revenue lands. See, these kind of issues they are raking up, building up in the media, in social media, and they are claiming that the Waqf boards are claiming these lands. This is completely wrong. If
Mr. Hussain, I've given you lots of time because I believe,
please let him.
Mr. Hussain, I gave you adequate time to explain and you've given us a very strong explanation of why you believe there are myths surrounding the alleged land grabbing. Nalin Kohli had raised his hand. I'll give him a quick response and then go to my other guest. Yes, Mr. Kohli. You see, there are lots of myths being spread. There's also WhatsApp University.
No, I think my learned friend.
I heard, no, 1 minute, sir. I heard the minister today saying that even Parliament building is being claimed by the Waqf. I mean, where is this coming from? The fear is, there's a lot of fear mongering also going on both sides. Respond, Nalin Kohli.
So first, when the minister speaks on the House, on the floor of the House of Parliament, he is subject to a privilege motion if he gives an incorrect statement. That's basic parliamentary democracy. So he understands, after taking the oath of the Constitution, being a member of Parliament, what his responsibilities are, and his statement is not a loose statement. As you call it, the WhatsApp University, it does not function there. And nor does a TV debate standard function there either. So, I mean, in fairness, we have to give credence to what he says on the floor of the House. Number one. Number two, my learned friend, Hussainji made some very, very valid points. And I actually must thank him. He has just now built a fabulous case in support of the district administration. And actually, there should be no fear. Because what he has just now made a case on is the courts are functioning beautifully when the courts are invoked and the district administration's mistakes are corrected by that. The Waqf boards are doing no wrong. So let's now go back to the top.
But now the district administration will have huge power.
No,
but Mr. Kohli, now the government, the district collector will have the powers.
No, I haven't finished my point. Why were the... No, you must listen to my point. You must listen to my point before you ask me for a counter question. Why was the jurisdiction of the courts removed? And why was the word of the Waqf tribunal to be then only the final word? Now that brings the exact thing, that under the secular law that we are finally, even which the constitution gives you rights for specific rights for the minorities, it does not oust the fact that India as a secular democracy, not run on religion, the primacy of the courts and the legal system cannot be ousted by any organization. Least of all, a religious organization. Because this is not running on religion. And let me put a counter argument. If it is running on religion, if that is the argument to be taken from someone in the Muslim community, then with due respect, then why wouldn't it run on Hindu religion, which is the majority and in 47? So therefore, it can't be in a way that you have a situation that a minority community will say that the secular fabric of the rule of law will be discarded in front of the religious fabric or the religious law.
Nalin Kohli. Nalin Kohli, a point was made by Nasir Hussain.
The Waqf boards be worried of the courts.
No. Point was made by Nasir Hussain, for example, that why should
Yes, I'm listening.
two non-Muslims, why should two non-Muslims be on the mandatorily on a Waqf board when that won't happen with the temple trust? He says have equality before the law. Quick response.
No, that's also easy to say. Basically, in this country, and actually across the world, the majority of disputes relate to land. In some states, I won't name them, a 1 foot change in the boundary between two neighboring lands can lead to bloodshed also. Land is a very, very, very precious commodity and it's passed down by generations through succession. So when it comes to land rights, ultimately it has to go by the land records. If there is an error, that can be corrected, as Mr. Hussain was trying to point out. But at the end of the day, the custodian of those land records is the government, point number one. Point number two, if it involves a non-Muslim's land, then again the same argument would be used. How can all the Muslims sitting there do justice then to a non-Muslim because they are functioning under their religious objective? So therefore, it is not about interference in the functioning of the Waqf board or are getting involved in the religious part of it. But as and when such situations come, you have somebody to give a basic fair representation.
Okay, Nasir Hussain, we were just listing what is the rules across the world. In many Islamic countries, it's the government which is the final arbiter. Now, in this case, you're saying, why is the district collector intervening? It's intervention in religious affairs. The courts are being given a greater role now under the new act. What's wrong with that? The fact is, those are not ultra vires the constitution.
Rajdeep, let me not bother about what is happening in different countries. The point here is very simple. I said equality before equality before law. Mr. Kohli didn't address the question, this under the query which I raised. I said you want to have non-Muslims in a Waqf board. Can you have non-Hindus in endowment boards, in Muzrai departments, in Hindu religious acts? And it is very, very clearly mentioned
what's wrong?
there.
What's wrong with diversity?
Seconds, I can give
1 minute. Mr. Syed, Nasir Hussain, if the land which is being claimed is that of a non-Muslim.
Hold on. You allow me to speak. You allow me to finish. See, Matas in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, they have lands. Temples have lands. Gurdwaras have lands. Churches have land. All religious institutions in this country have land. And large tracts of land. So land is involved everywhere. When the endowment acts clearly say only Hindus can be there, when other community laws can clearly say only that community people can be there, how can you bring someone from other community only in Waqf? Then please allow other communities to be there in different boards of different communities.
I'm going to stop.
That is the point I am making. Why there is no equality?
No, 1 minute. Let's avoid the crosstalk. We are discussing very rationally a very seasoned. I am very happy to see two guests discussing it. Sir, just a minute. There are two other guests that are joining, and the reason I've got them, I'll explain in a moment. Because the Telugu Desam was the one party many thought might have reservations about these Waqf amendments. They are voting with the government. Deepak Reddy Gunapati, what are the reservations you still have, or what has the government done to allay your reservation that you are now voting with the government?
A very good evening, Rajdeep ji.
Good evening.
Before I start, let me put one thing on record. Congress party is the reason behind this entire mess. In fact, if you see Mallikarjun Kharge ji some time ago, he's clearly said that in Karnataka, the Waqf lands are being, illegally occupied. And several Congress leaders have given similar statements on the state level. But the stand what they're taking in the national level is what we can see. And what's surprising is they're trying to get TDP in and trying to cast aspersions on us. But to be frank, we were the ones who actually asked for the JPC. And we have suggested 4 amendments. Out of the 4, 3 crucial amendments have already been accepted. And
which are those? Which are those? Can you explain? Which are the key ones that you have got, which the government has agreed to?
Yeah, the first one was Waqf by user. where
Yes.
saying that whatever is already registered, you cannot do away with that.
So it can't
And the
operate
second one-
retrospectively.
Yes. And the second one, what we have asked for is a higher level officer than the collector, because the collector works under the government. Even that kind of a bias should not be there. An officer which is of a higher level should be given the powers. And the third one is the timeline. We have to give a reasonable timeline, which we suggested 6 months. And the fourth one is what the other gentleman was saying, that a non-Muslim should not be there. That is what we are now fighting hard, because Chandrababu Naidu ji has clearly said on Tirupati issue also that a non-Hindu will not be there. Similarly, every religion institution, people belonging to the same religion should be there. If at all it is not accepted, the Fourth Amendment, we are exploring avenues where we implement that, at least in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So Chandrababu Naidu ji is a true champion of Muslim rights. But
No, so let me get this very clear. Andhra Pradesh, let me get this very clear. You are saying there can be no mandatory inclusion of non-Muslims is the amendment you have put forward. That seems to fit in with what Amit Shah has also said in Parliament. You're saying it is for the state governments to decide who will be in the Waqf board. Am I correct?
No, we are trying to get the Fourth Amendment passed in the center itself. If at all it doesn't get accepted, as far as the state is concerned, Chandrababu Naidu ji is looking at avenues to protect the rights of the Muslims. So in each of these four, the decision is at the state level, and we will make sure that the rights of the Muslims are protected. One last thing I would like to put it forward. The Congress and especially the MIM has been casting aspersions on us. They have no representation in Andhra Pradesh, especially. MIM has not even a single seat, and Congress party is long dead. So I mean, we don't really appreciate the false information which is being given.
Okay.
And one straight question I would like to ask before I close. If everything was so perfect, in Andhra Pradesh, there are 65,783 acres registered under Waqf. Out of that, in the last 5 years, 31,594, almost half the lands have been encroached. If the Waqf board activities previously were good, why did this happen? So Chandrababu Naidu ji has now vowed to protect the rights of the Muslims and the lands of the Muslims. So this is something what we want to make it absolutely clear, because truth has become a casualty with all the false information what the India ecosystem has been peddling in the last few days, and they have miserably failed in public opinion.
There's lots of
people to get
there's a lot of
dharnas
myth
being
making,
done in
sir.
Delhi.
Sir, there's a lot of myth making on both sides, particularly when it also comes to land grabs, which are being also mentioned in some instances. But I want to come to you, Jui Singh. As has been just said by my TDP guest, he's giving a very persuasive argument for reform. The general sense one gets in the parliament debate is the opposition is wondering, is not able to give a strong reason why they don't want this reform. In many state governments, I have heard opposition leaders say they want reform in Waqf land. So why not, when you come to parliament, how can you change the goalpost? Suddenly you say, nahi, humko nahi chahiye. Is this also you playing, the opposition playing vote bank politics, trying to appease a segment of the Muslim community?
Rajdeep, thank you for calling me, but the Samajwadi Party opposes the Waqf Amendment Bill, and we are going to vote against it. Mainly because
Why?
From the arguments being put on this panel itself. I'm telling you, give me a chance. It's dangerous, it's disempowering, it's disenfranchising, and the government of the day and all the people who are supporting it are just glossing over the red flags being planted. The TDP friend just said that their amendment has been accepted regarding the Waqf user. Now, this is a proviso which I think has a qualifying clause also, that if there is a dispute, then the land devolves to the government. Then the second thing is, again, a practicing Muslim for 5 years, who is going to, and by what conditions are we going to, under what terms and conditions are we going to judge who is a practicing Muslim who can actually do waqf? Of course, you are trying to centralize it, you are trying to control it. I think the Home Minister has said no non-Islamic member will come in. He has not said that no non. I really do not understand that where do these terms come in when you have clearly said that you are going to put non-Muslim members in the board. You talk about women. So that provision was already there. And I mean, many parties who are now voting with the government, I think you supported the last amendment also. We've also talked, I think the government of the day has also talked that these are vast lands and they could lead to economic transformation, profit making, while I think your own data shows that the majority of this land is burial grounds, is schools, madrasas, homes, shops.
Yeah, I'll put up that graphic. Let me put up that graphic.
Would be.
Sure. Let's put up that
Yes,
graphic as to what are these waqf property lands. You see, there's a lot of myth making as to whether these lands are only being used for profit or what. 17% are graveyards, as you can see. A large percentage of them are also used for mosques. So there are a few contentions. Like in every such land endowments, there are cases where clearly there are serious question marks whether the land has been misused. There is a challenge of encroachments also, Nasir Hussain, which was raised by Nalin Kohli and by my TDP guest. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny that all is well with the waqf. That is the problem. You need reform. The moment the government then comes with some kind of reform, maybe they have not been able to deliver on all the issues that you are raising. Maybe some of your concerns are genuine, but you cannot deny the need for reform. You could suggest to me a better reform. If you are saying what the Modi government is doing wrong, tell me a better reform to ensure transparency and accountability.
Rajdeep, I understand and I do believe that there is no institution in this country.
Go ahead.
There's
Mr.
no
Hussain, go ahead.
institution in this country which doesn't need reform. Yeah. There's no institution in this country which doesn't need reform. There is something or the other wrong with every institution in this country. I understand that. But the point is, reforms for better, reform for strengthening, reform for giving teeth to that organization and the department, and reforms for the better welfare of the people or the stakeholders that are
now, give me one reform that you would have brought that they have not. You see, let's come to specific. Give me one reform that you would have brought that this government has not done. What would you have done?
I would say the entire debate around Waqf Bill is that गरीबों की मदद होना चाहिए. इससे जो है पूरे मुस्लिम समुदाय की मदद होना चाहिए. मुझे, you tell me one thing. You ask Mr. Kohli and the BJP people, what is their roadmap to help the poor out of the Waqf properties? See, as you told, there are Qabristan, there are Eidgah, there are Masjid. You cannot do anything out of it. Where will the revenue come from? Do you want to charge the people that will go to namaz? Do you want to charge the dead bodies that will be buried in the Qabristan? Or do you want to charge for the people those who go to Dargah? ये बड़ी चादर डालेगा तो इतना पैसा, छोटी चादर डालेगा इतना पैसा. It is not about that. There is land apart from these religious activity centers which need to be converted into revenue generating units. And for that, the Sachar committee had said that there should be a NAWADCO, National Waqf Development Corporation. 2013 Act said that. A seed capital of 500 crores was kept separately for that. Modi government came in 2014. They did away with the NAWADCO. What has happened to the 500 crores seed capital? So you need to develop these properties into revenue generating units. When the revenue comes, only then you will be able to help the poor among the Muslims or poor about anybody else in the country. So what is the roadmap of this country to develop these properties into revenue generating units so that it can generate revenues? And I would ask my TDP friend, he was mentioning in last 5 years, 33,000 acres of land has been encroached. Please, if you are so much worried about Waqf and the Muslims, go ahead, tell Chandrababu Naidu ji, let him recover all those encroached land. The government is saying that so much of encroachment in the entire country. What is Modi government doing for the past 11 years? They have state governments in so many states. Why didn't they constitute National Waqf Council? Why didn't they constitute Waqf Board in many of the states where BJP is ruling? What were they doing? They should have done all this in the last 11 years.
I want to get Nalin Kohli to respond to what has been just said by Nasir Hussain in terms of the fact that the government is claiming A, this will end corruption, and B, this will benefit the poor. Now, I don't know whether the government getting greater intervention in Waqf Board will actually end corruption. As we've seen in the past, government discretion often doesn't actually end corruption. A. B, how will it help the poor? More specifically. Nalin.
So, first of all, to answer to the political part of what Nasir Hussain ji said, what has the Modi government done in the last 11 years? Lots more than what the Congress has done in the last 55. I have no hesitation saying it. Pick up anything, railways, highways, anything. The record is far, far, far more than the Congress could have even dreamed of. Forget about performing.
Take bank accounts. Come to the question I asked.
Bank accounts.
Come to the question I asked.
No, one minute.
Sir, we are running out of time. Come to the question. That's a critical question. How is this going to curb corruption?
Yes, so on
and
the
help
Waqf
the poor?
I'm coming also.
Yes,
On the
please.
Waqf I'm coming straight. Arey Baba, you have to hear me, my friend. You have to hear me, my friend. Mr. Nasir Hussain spoke for 2 minutes. I'm hardly
Sir,
going
you've
to take less
spoken as
than
much.
that.
Yes.
So I was giving you a cross spectrum. Now let's come to backwardness of Muslims. I mean, why is it from 70? I mean, ever since we are a republic, the only thing I hear from the Congress side is the Muslims are backward. Who has kept them backward? Why are they not equal partners? Everybody talks of the special rights of Muslims under 25, 26, or the minorities. Article 14 is far more powerful, equal rights. How is it that they are so backward? In 55 years, what was this roadmap of Garibi, Hatao, everything? The Waqf has suffered because of exactly this mindset. Keep everybody as poor as you want. You kept half the country or the majority part as poor as you could forever. And the same thing was with the Waqf. Why couldn't you reform it? Why did these encroachments take place over 55 years? Why after 55 years somebody has to wake up and say that this is my land without any revenue records? So the point I'm making, that was the political point, now to the absolute logical point. This is a bill to use technology to make the records come online, to make sure everything is transparently available to the last person in the mile. Somebody who can pick up a smartphone like yours and mine, go onto a website and check which is a Waqf property and which is not a Waqf property. Unlike the opacity that existed and the lack of knowledge that even the Waqf seems to have on its own lands.
Okay,
So therefore,
I have just a minute. My TDP guest.
Moving ahead can
Yes,
only
no,
be
sir. The TDP guest also deserves a line in. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Rajdeep, 5 seconds.
Rajdeep ji,
Very important point.
I'll come to you, Nasir. I'll come to you also.
The Congress representative claimed to be from Karnataka. And I've actually said about Mallikarjun Kharge ji coming on air in the media saying that Waqf lands are being stolen and misappropriated. So the president of their own party has commented, and several other Congress leaders from different states have said that earlier. So today, what they are doing is playing a game to the audience and trying to instigate Muslims from across the country by false information.
Okay.
This is the divisive politics of what the Congress is playing. And in Andhra Pradesh, specifically
I've run out of time. Sir, I've heard you patiently.
Party has been buried in Andhra Pradesh.
Sir, I wanted to. Okay, you're saying it's divisive politics. I want to give Juhi Singh, who's been very patient. Juhi Singh, are you guilty of vote bank politics? This point is being made again and again. The opposition is playing vote bank politics to consolidate a Muslim vote.
Rajdeep, we are going to oppose this bill because it is unfair to the Muslims. It is taking away the right to equality, and all the people here who are saying that we are supporting the bill because some of our amendments have been accepted are actually letting down the Muslims of India. And the word secularism has been mentioned, which is very interesting, and the point has also been made that these properties cannot be turned into profit churning properties because religious and charitable tribal lands are not meant for that. The government wants to increase its control over the Waqf properties, and you've clearly said that if any of these Waqf properties are disputed, then the government has the upper hand. Of course, the ideal situation.
Sure, there is a huge question mark over government control. Sir, Madam, government control, as we've seen in this country, is often a recipe to allow even more corruption at times to take place. To believe that with government control, properties will actually, the corruption, that's the question. The government is playing this card saying corruption will be reduced. We don't know. We had the proof in this country over the last 75 years is that's where the corruption starts, in government discretion. But Nasir Hussain, 10 seconds, and I have no more. You want to make a point? 10 seconds.
Then one quick point, Mr. Kohli said they want to bring in transparency. They want to they want to see that everything is registered. I just want to tell my friend from the BJP that the former Union Minister, Mr. Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, made a very clear statement that 100% Waqf properties have been digitalized on WAMC portal of the central government. If you are denying that it has not been digitized, and if you are denying that you cannot see it on the website, our God only can save the Bharatiya Janata Party and the government. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me leave it there. I've heard all four sides, and clearly there are strong arguments on either side. It's been in many ways a contentious debate, but hopefully a debate that will lead to genuine reform. The point is, one side is accused of using it as a political weapon. The other side is accused of playing the victimhood card. And often the truth lies somewhere in between. Are we willing to discover that truth, or get carried away by the myth-making on both sides? One side claims it's all about land grab. The other side claims it's an interference with religion and personal matters. I hope we will find some sense in that middle ground. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night. Shubh Ratri. Jai Hind. Namaskar.